Okay, so when you think of a stock trader, what pops into your head? Probably some person in a fancy suit, right? Shouting into a couple of phones at once, surrounded by all those flashing numbers and charts. Yeah, that's the Hollywood version. But the reality? It's a much deeper, much more hidden game, and today, we're going to peel back the curtain.
You got to think of the trading world like a giant iceberg. What we all see on the news, the quick decisions, the big numbers on public exchanges, that's just the tiny tip sticking out of the water. But underneath the surface, that's where the massive hidden reality is. It's a world of intense personal discipline and these huge private markets where the real action happens. So today, we're going below the waterline. We're going to explore two of these hidden worlds, the battle inside a trader's own mind and the invisible architecture of the market itself.
So first up, let's talk about that hidden personal battle. We're pulling from some really direct, honestly, kind of brutal advice out there for anyone who wants to become a trader. And the core message is simple. Before you can even think about conquering the market, you have to conquer yourself.
And this first one might actually surprise you. The first brutal truth isn't about some secret chart pattern or trading strategy. It's about your physical health. The argument goes like this. Being out of shape shows a lack of discipline, and trading, maybe more than anything else, demands an insane amount of discipline and resilience.
The source material puts it pretty bluntly. If you can't control what you eat, you can't control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, you can't be a successful trader. It's all about building that foundation of personal discipline that you can then apply directly to your trading performance.
All right, the second truth gets right to the reason most people start trading in the first place: money. But here's the huge paradox. If you are desperate for money, trading is just about the worst thing you can possibly do. That feeling of desperation totally clouds your judgment and pushes you to make emotional, irrational decisions.
I mean, the advice here is crystal clear. Desperation absolutely cripples your ability to think rationally. Trading needs a clear head, one that's free from the stress of thinking, I have to win this trade to pay my rent. You need to have financial stability before you start, not hope to get it as a result of trading.
And that leads us right into the third truth. You need mental peace. Your life outside of the charts directly impacts your state of mind. If your personal life is just chaotic, full of relationship drama or family problems, you're not going to have the stability you need to navigate the markets. Trading demands a calm, peaceful mind.
And the list keeps going. You have to be able to afford to lose every single dollar you put in. You've got to be willing to pay for your education just like any other serious profession. You have to commit serious time. We're talking at least 20 hours a week just learning and practicing. And finally, you have to be ready for the market to tell you you're wrong every single day. It's this relentless feedback machine that will just crush any ego.
So let's say a trader actually does it. They master their internal world. Well, they then have to face an external world that is just as challenging. And that brings us to our second big reveal, the hidden structure of the market itself. Because even with perfect discipline, you're playing a game where a huge chunk of the action happens in the shadows, completely off the public exchanges that we all see.
This is where we get into something called dark pools. Now, despite the kind of scary name, they're perfectly legal. They're just private stock exchanges. They were created so that massive institutional investors, think huge pension funds, could trade millions of shares without tipping off the rest of the market and causing the price to move against them. Dark pools let them operate in secret.
And listen, this isn't some tiny niche corner of the financial world. Not at all. The growth has been absolutely explosive. In Europe, back in 2008, it was just 1% of all trades. Fast forward to 2021 in the US, and off-exchange trading made up a mind-blowing 47.2% of all stock volume. That's nearly half of the entire market operating out of public view.
As you can probably guess, this has regulators pretty worried. Former SEC Chair Mary Shapiro warned that this lack of transparency could create a two-tiered market. One for the big institutions with all the private info, and another one for the rest of us, left totally in the dark about where prices and money are really moving.
All this concern pushed European regulators to do something, and in doing so, they accidentally created this fascinating natural experiment, and it revealed this really strange paradox at the very heart of this hidden market.
Okay, so here's how the experiment worked. Regulators in Europe said that any single dark pool couldn't handle more than 4% of a stock's total trading volume. If a pool went over that cap, bam, it was banned from trading that stock for 6 months. Now, since there were dozens of other dark pools still open for business, it created the perfect test.
When the biggest, most popular pool gets shut down, where does all that trading volume go? So, the logical assumption was pretty simple, right? If your favorite dark pool closes for a particular stock, you just move your trades to the next best one. Makes sense. Well, that's not what happened.
Not even close. The results were honestly shocking. When the top dark pool for a stock got banned, over half of its trading volume just vanished from the dark markets entirely. Only a tiny fraction went anywhere else. Just 12% went to other private venues, and a measly 7% moved to the next best dark pool. For the most part, traders just didn't switch.
So what on earth does this mean? Well, researchers came to this really powerful conclusion. Dark trading is not a market of exchanges, but rather a collection of independent silos. In other words, these different dark pools aren't interchangeable competitors. They're more like isolated islands.
Here's a really simple way to think about it. Imagine your favorite grocery store closes down. Sure, there are other grocery stores in town, but you don't go. Why not? Well, you're not sure they'll have what you need, and more importantly, you're not sure other shoppers will even be there. A market needs both buyers and sellers. Traders stuck to their main dark pool because moving to a smaller one meant there was no guarantee they'd actually find someone to trade with.
So, how do we connect these two worlds, the internal battle and this hidden market? Well, mastering this game isn't just about having a good strategy. It's about understanding all the invisible forces at play, both inside your own head and deep within the market itself.
You're basically fighting on two hidden battlefields at the same time. You've got the internal game, where the big challenge is your own emotions and discipline, and the key is self-mastery. And then you have the external game, navigating these opaque, siloed markets, where the key is understanding the system's invisible plumbing. To have a shot at success, you have to win on both fronts.
And this brings us to the main takeaway, the most crucial point of all. Real success in trading means you have to navigate two very different kinds of dark pools. First, there's the one inside your own head, that opaque emotional world of fear and greed. And second, there are the literal dark pools, where nearly half of all the big money actually moves. You know, they're really just two sides of the same coin. On one side, you need that quiet, disciplined internal state, just to be able to play the game at all. And on the other, you have to navigate that dark, complex external network where the game is actually being played. You have to master both.
And all of this leaves us with one final, provocative thought to chew on. If almost half of all the buying and selling is happening in these hidden, siloed venues completely out of public sight, what does the idea of a transparent market really mean for the rest of us? It's a huge question that gets right to the heart of how our modern financial world actually works.